The Neon Demon is a film that's better experienced than explained, because while I can tell you about the crazy third act, the regurgitated eyeballs, and the second craziest necrophilia scene of all time, it just wouldn't be the same as you actually seeing it. So watch it, love it or hate it, and let's talk about Nicolas Refn's newest film, The Neon Demon. So let's start with the title. What is the Neon Demon? You can say that the neon aspect comes from the first half where everything is enticing and beautiful, which then abruptly turns into the demon side of things in the second half. The neon also being the facade that just draws you in, whereas the demon is reality and it hits you with the dark truths. Yet interestingly enough, the first half seems more realistic than the nightmarish finale. The Neon Demon can also be a place such as the city of LA, which entices you and then spits you out like it does Jesse, the young model we follow who possesses that natural beauty that everyone else literally craves.
So the question was always, who is the Neon Demon? And it's Elle Fanning.
And in a film where narcissism is looked at as a good thing, it makes you ask yourself, is beauty the only thing that matters? Of course, you don't have to agree with that, the same way you don't have to like a director who thinks...
It's a bit like fetishizing. It's like playing with dolls and you're like, what would I like her to wear? You creep.
Or conceive the idea because...
I have a part of me that is the 16-year-old girl that I wish I could experience what life would be like being born beautiful. And so I kind of able to live out my fetishes through that way and still go home and have a normal family.
I personally am not the biggest fan of the film, but I still love studying what someone else has crafted, even if it's not up my alley.
If I don't split, what are we doing here? You know, art is not about good or bad, guys. It's those days are over. The internet has changed, so film as an art form is about an experience. Good or bad is your Chinese food or your pepper steak at whatever French bistro you had last night. Creativity is about reactions, and reactions is the essence of an experience. The essence of an experience is planting thought. If you don't react, what are you doing here?
So let's break it down even further. According to Refn, it's meant to be a horror film with women. And just like he exploited masculinity in Drive and Only God Forgives, he aims to dissect beauty in this one.
We wanted to make Elle and I a film about beauty and the obsession of beauty, and fashion was just the right backdrop to place it in, because that's the ultimate world of this obsession that in a way reflects our culture. So where beauty can be very shallow theme, it's also very complex, and I think it was trying to maneuver against that.
It's also interesting how he treats the men in this movie in particular.
Well, the idea was that all the men are like the girlfriends in other movies. And because all the women and everything else around it is the focus, it's the movie. Everything is secondary in a way.
He plays with perceptions and having you think that Dean is going to use Jesse when in reality, he's the nicest one in the film. That Hank, through a vision and what we think we hear next door, is this scumbag manager, and that the photographer is a creep, when really the entire time, the person we're led to believe is the protective guard is the one who sets out to hurt her.
Let me help you with that.
Now let's look deeper into the symbolism, starting with color. It's crazy to think that Refn is actually colorblind when he makes such stunning looking films, but with the help of cinematographer Natasha Breyer, he sets up this color palette that begins with blues signifying innocence and sexy purples that entice you. In Jesse's first photo shoot, we see her turning into gold and see her beginning to wear more of it as she becomes more successful. Red is used throughout for characters like Ruby, the makeup artist for the dead and the living, who merely creates illusions of beauty. But the red here is a way to symbolize betrayal and leads up to the most pivotal part of the film, the runway scene. Here, the entire color scheme goes from blue to red as Jessie starts to lose her innocence. Refn also uses mirrors by having Jessie's reflection be shown whenever she's vulnerable, and then being front and center when she becomes more aggressive. Her kissing her reflection, it's pretty much her falling in love with herself. The editing also plays a major part in giving you that deer in the headlights feel, just like Jesse has in the movie, either by cutting from a very dark shot to the brightest white screen ever, or cutting from a very loud roaring engine to soft clicking heels. There's also the Predator symbolism.
The idea of shooting the scene all in underwear, which is a true scenario, is that it makes everything just pure meat. And the idea that you're disposable and you're degraded and you're kind of looked upon as nothing but a prop.
On top of that, if Sarah attacking Jesse on all fours, having a leopard appear as Jesse's career starts, Ruby sitting in front of a wolf signifying she's the leader of the pack, and having them all ultimately eat Jesse doesn't get the point across, then maybe Refn's next film about Amazonian women will. But the idea of cannibalism and beauty has appeared in previous stories, and here it does make the three appear like a coven of witches or vampires who eat, bathe, and prey on the young. Malone forgetting her Tampax as she lets it all out during a full moon adds to why they should be burned by fire. Burn them all! But Jesse's demise is foreshadowed early on in the not-so-subtle opening shot, or when Ruby suggests a lipstick named Red Rum, or the question on whether she's food or if she's sex. And considering she rejects Ruby's advancements, she becomes food. Or what Ruby calls her, dessert, since she does get eaten at the end of the movie. It's interesting to see the parallels between the eating disorders seen in the modeling world and the metaphorical use of cannibalism to present this dog-eat-dog lifestyle. At the end, when Gigi looks at the pool, you can see it as her feeling guilty for what she's done and then having to get her out of her. But she's also the one who was obsessed with surgery, and like the modeling agent says, you can tell when beauty is manufactured. Thus, Gigi's body rejects the pureness found in Jesse. Sarah, on the other hand, I believe has no problem hiding secrets. But then we have that one scene.
And it was the only sequence that I couldn't do out of order because it was too expensive for me to shoot it later on, because I wanted to shoot in a real morgue. It was kind of like the second scene I had done with Janice. I didn't really know her very well. And she bends over and she kisses the corpse, and I suddenly get this instinct. And I go, can you spit in her mouth? And she does. And I go, can you touch her? She does. And can I get more saliva on her nipples as you move up to her chin? No, do that again, and then make sure the saliva, over her mouth again. And
yeah, what's the point of the story? So we saw it. So in a film, and especially with your level of control and auteurship, it could be anything, right? I mean, you could have written a scene where Elle finds a dog that's a great singer. You could have written a scene where one of the characters discovers that if you pour milk on a rock, it tastes like cake. You could do anything you want, and yet with that kind of control, you went, no, necrophilia. That's what I'm gonna do.
well, I think that it had to do with that 16-year-old girl.
You're blaming her for a lot of things, honestly.
There was just something really interesting about sex and death. It goes to the opening scene, which is all about death and beauty.
Now you may argue, why express it this way? Well,
That's the essence of creativity, is to react. Good and bad, I couldn't care less. I mean, what's good and bad in anything? Well, your Chinese dinner maybe, but not in this. This is about a reaction, because that's the future. The future of entertainment is not going to be based so much on what you do, but it's so much what you stand for.
remember, this is a dude who claims his films are pornography, meaning the plots are while he's really aiming for that reaction and emotion from you. Some may prefer the way Black Swan tells it, others will prefer the way the Neon Demon tells it, but Refn's idea of beauty being how we define quality, us basing everything on what we see first and foremost, and having narcissism be evolved to its highest peak in our generation, are themes we deal with on a daily basis.
Like, what's interesting about beauty is that beauty will become the next class war. because financially, career-wise, all those things that used to divide, and conquer are no longer really relevant. So it's becoming much more about how you're born. And beauty is one of those things that just is a very powerful medium.
And that idea is kind of scary, because like Refn admits, what if you're born ugly? Do you cover it up with makeup? Will people notice it's fake? Is it a reference to why his films are so pretty since, as Jesse states in the film, you can make money off pretty? Would we even notice Refn if they weren't? And since according to Refn, Elle resembles the 16-year-old girl inside of him, does that mean his career is reflected in the movie? For the moment when people started noticing him, when he rose to fame, and then the part where they chewed him out. His films may be weird, but he's being himself. He's not pretending. It's him on the runway, and we're judging him the way we judge a model by their beauty and what defines them. Maybe Refn has discovered what the neon demon truly is, how we all succumb to it, and how beauty will take over one day.
I am from the future, and I always believed that, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you guys for checking out this video, and as always, a big shout out to my Patreon supporters. I'm curious to know if you have checked out these indie films that I've been covering, be it Swiss Army Man or be it The Neon Demon. Definitely let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section and we can discuss them, and let me know any other movies that you want to talk about that we can break down and explain as well. You can also check out the website or head on over to AtZ Flicks to see our weekly podcast, or just stick around here as we talk about the good, the bad, and everything in between dealing with movies. Definitely let me know your thoughts about this movie or any others down below in the comments section, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.